It's a great day for high school football.
Welcome to the High School Football Pigskin Show. I'm the host, Michael Anderson.
My travels have taken me all over this beautiful state. Good day, folks. It was a wild night of high school football last night, with plenty of upsets throughout the state. And I tell you what, folks, South Georgia made a statement last night. I'm going to discuss the brackets, the playoff brackets from Class 1A to Class 7A. Let's begin with Class 7A, the matchup between Brookwood and Colquitt. Well, Brookwood led at halftime 14-10. But Colquitt came out of that locker room apparently with their hair on fire. They scored 21 unanswered points to avenge an earlier loss to Brookwood. I tell you what, folks, those Packers are a resilient bunch. As I mentioned to you early in the playoffs, they're probably the most dangerous third-seed team in the state, and they're definitely proving that. On the other side of the bracket, the matchup between McEachern and North Gwinnett, it appears that game was full of turnovers, and it looks like North Gwinnett took control late in the game and scored a bunch of unanswered points. The quarterback for North Gwinnett ended up with 190 yards and 2 touchdowns, and North's running back Goodson rushed for 135 yards. Well, that sets up a matchup between Colquitt County and North Gwinnett in the finals in Mercedes-Benz. Well, you know, folks, Colquitt is hot and they're resilient, and I'm gonna go with Colquitt to win the state championship. Moving on to Class 6A, the matchup between Coffee County and Tucker. Sound like a very good football game. Coffee County scored on the third play of scrimmage. They also scored late in the fourth quarter on the pass. And Coffee County had a couple of injured running backs, but they continue to persevere, and they prevailed. They beat Tucker at Tucker, which was a great feat for them. On the other side of the bracket, the matchup between Lee County and Glenn Academy. That sounded like an epic football game. Lee County had to come back from behind to beat Glenn Academy 42-38. Sounded like a lot of good coaching going on there. It sounded like a lot of good offense going on there. So that sets a matchup between Coffee County versus Lee County. Well, this is a rematch. These two teams are from the same region. They played each other earlier this year. And Lee County beat Coffee County earlier this year. So I'm going to go with Lee County to win this state championship. It should be a great game, though. And, you know, with anything, anything can happen in a football game. But I'm just saying I think Lee County will probably prevail. Moving on to Class 5A, the matchup between Rome and Beaufort. Rome dominated this game, especially in the second half, where Rome had 272 yards and Beaufort had only 30 yards in the second half. So Rome basically took over in the second half and just dominated Beaufort. Moving on to the other side of the bracket, the matchup between Warner Robins and Carver, Atlanta. The Demons separate themselves in a dominant fashion, especially after the second half, because the halftime score was 14-7, and the Demons definitely opened the game up in the second half to beat Carver, Atlanta 31-7. So this sets up a final matchup between Rome and Warner Robins. Rome is just too dominant on offense, especially on defense, very stout defense. I got to go with Rome to win the state championship. Moving on to Class 4A, the matchup between Marist and St. Pius. Well, if you know anything about DeKalb County, this is a rival game between these two teams. They played each other earlier this year, and Marist just basically dominated Pius, no doubt about it. One of Marist's touchdown passes bounced off a St. Pius player's helmet and landed in the Marist player's hands, and they ran it in for a touchdown. Now that's destiny. So basically Marist just dominated Pius 35-14. On the other side of the bracket, Blessed Trinity, I call them BT, played Mary Persons. Well, Blessed Trinity avenged a loss last year in the playoffs to Mary Persons, and BT had a great second half, and Elijah Green was the main reason why they had a good second half. Very good rushing yards that he put up in the second half, and they beat Mary Persons. So this sets up a matchup between Marist and Blessed Trinity. Well, these two teams have played each other early this year, so this is a rematch. Now, Marist did beat Blessed Trinity early this year, but I'm going to pick Blessed Trinity to win the state championship, because that game they played early this year was only a 1-point difference in the score. And I think BT is hot this year, so I think they're going to win the state championship. Moving on to Class 3A. Now, this classification had the biggest upsets at all the classifications. Well, let's look at the Greater Atlanta Christian versus Peach County. Well, Peach County defeated Greater Atlanta Christian in a close contest. Peaches Gilbert had a final tally of 325 yards and 2 touchdowns. Outstanding. So Peach beats GAC 28-23. Moving on to the other side of the bracket. Now, this was really surprising to me. Cedar Grove versus Calhoun. Well, Cedar Grove had a lot of turnovers, which contribute to their loss. And also, Calhoun passed effectively against Cedar Grove. And they got a lot of yards passing against them. So basically, Calhoun pulls it out and beats Cedar Grove in a close game. Well, this sets up a final matchup between Peach County and Calhoun. Well, Peach County seems to be really hot. And I know some of you other bloggers out there have told me about Peach County, how hot they are, what good a team they have. I'm going to go with Peach County to win the state championship in Class 3A. Moving on to Class 2A. The matchup between Brooks County and Raven County. It sounded like after a scoreless first quarter, it was like 7-5, I believe, at halftime. And basically, Rabin County pulled away after halftime, and it included a 74-yard pass to Austin Jones. So Rabin County defeats Brooks County. Brooks County made it interesting at the end, but they defeated them 23-12. On the other side of the bracket, Heard County versus Hateville Charter. This was a back and forth shootout game between these two schools. It looks like in the final 5.3 seconds of the football game, Hateville Charter basically scored a touchdown. Marcus Carroll scored a touchdown to pull away to defeat Heard County. So this sets up a matchup between Rabin County, who's very, very hot, and Hateville Charter, who's also very hot. I'm going to give the edge to Hateville Charter to win the state championship in Class 2A. Moving on to Class 1A Public. Well, the matchup between Mount Zion of Carroll versus Clinch County. Now, this game sounds like, pretty much that Clinch County had to come from behind to defeat Mount Zion Carroll. And it sounds like they were able to do that because they blocked a Mount Zion field goal, which preserved the Clinch County lead. It appeared that Mount Zion outgained Clinch County 350 yards to 242 yards. However, Clinch County still won the football game. Moving on to the other side of the bracket, Irwin County versus ECI. Now, I've been hearing a lot about Irwin County all season long, about how good a football team they are. Well, Irwin County overcame a 22-8 deficit. I repeat that. Irwin County overcame a 22-8 deficit to ECI. They outgained ECI, and they put up 468 yards to defeat ECI. Now, that was very impressive. So it sounded like they had a very impressive second half. So Irwin County pretty much moves on to the finals to face Clinch County. Now, these two teams have played each other earlier this year. So this is a rematch. If you see this trend in these state high school finals, there's rematches. It's interesting. There's some teams from the same region that are going to be playing each other for the state championship. Well, this is another rematch between Clinch County and Irwin County. And I'm going to go with Irwin County to win the state championship, Class 1A. Moving on to Class 1A Private. The matchup between Eagles Landing Christian Academy versus Prince Avenue. Well, Eagles Landing just dominated Prince Avenue in all aspects of the game and defeated them soundly. On the other side of the bracket, Athens Academy played Mount Perrin. Athens Academy had to overcome a halftime deficit to defeat Mount Perrin, and they pulled away and beat them 14-7. So this sets up a final matchup between Eagles Landing of Christian versus Athens Academy. Well, Eagles Landing has been playing so dominant all year long that I'm going to pick them to win the state championship. Well, folks, that's all I have for you. Till next time, take care and God bless.
Take me to your football game.